Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Just prompt me if I'm audible or not.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Yes, you
afternoon.
are audible.
Thank you. Today we would be taking up the second paper in your tribal certification course. That is, I guess, on tribal society. And here we would be dealing with different components of tribal society. And to be more precise, I would be taking up the block one of your paper. And maybe we will start unit wise, and within 2 hours time we would try to wind up 4 units, because I have to wind up the entire paper in 4 classes only. Okay, so we will be starting now. I guess I can just close down my camera, because connectivity is pretty poor in my area right now. I'm traveling. And if you have any doubts, maybe we can wait, we can take 2 sessions. After the end of 1 hour we can take your questions for 2 units. That would be around 3:55. And maybe before we close the class we can take another set of questions around 4:55. I guess that should be fine. Okay. uh,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, thank you. So to start up, we will start our discussion with Unit 1, that is tribal social systems. You know, I guess this unit has so much of factual information, and I just don't want you to get bored with these facts, because there are certain things that you might have to remember. But what I'm trying to say is that when we talk about tribal social systems, we normally make a comparison between the tribal world and the mainstream world, say, of the Hindu society. And if you I guess you might have heard about it or read about it earlier, the very famous debate that took place between Elvin Warrior and GS Ghure. So basically, if you know, Ghure was the one who believed that Hindus are just backward, and tribes are just backward Hindus, since they have not been integrated properly in in the society, in the Hindu society. They have just remained backward. And the moment we can complete the integration process, so tribes would be equally, we can take them as any other community that you'll find in the mainstream society. To this, Warrior had a problem. In fact, today we do not, it is a very regressive idea when we term the tribes as backward. As I told you, Warrior, Elvin had a very different kind of a argument to this. He believed that when we talk about the tribes have a different social system altogether. The social system which is much more, we can say, progressive than the caste Hindus. Look at their gender relations, look at the kind of autonomy they have, look at the entire, the life that a woman leads, especially in terms of gender. They are much more progressive than us. So basically what Warrior was trying to say, that we two belong to two different social systems, and it is very, unfair to make a comparison, because that the social system that the tribes have, uh, they come from a different world. When if I say that, okay, you try to make a comparison between the two different social worlds, and I would ask you to, okay, go back to the, say, the jungles and have the skills, that definitely you would fail miserably. So when you are asking the tribes to have the same skills needed in your society, there lies a problem. So basically he believed that you don't need to integrate into the so-called mainstream society that you are talking about, just leave them alone. They have a very progressive, robust social system, and ours is different. We cannot hierarchize the two social systems. And in this context, we have started taking up and looking into the different what you say components of the social life that the tribes have. And just to begin with, when we talk about the Indian tribes, we are proud enough to be the largest, to be holding the largest tribal population in the world, next to Africa. And you will see that we have a very, the tribes of India, they are so very diverse. They have so many unique cultures, and the languages are so very different from each other, and so many languages are spoken. So if you look at the social system and the structures of the tribes, you will see that it is much more richer. So, if I say that, what does it mean by, what do you mean by a social system? You know, we can talk about the different structures of the society. The structures could be your social institutions, it could be your practices, your rituals, the patterns of behavior, the interaction patterns, they all could come under your idea of social structure. So, when you are talking about a particular social structure, you would see that there are many things we can look into. And in this case, when we are talking about the tribal life, there are many thinkers like Piddington, and you have Nadal and Piddington, for example. He is talking about the primitive structures that you will find in the tribal organization. They could be seen in terms of kinship system, in terms of the kind of political power they held, the kind of religion they followed, the system of magic, totems. And you can also talk about the the kind of professions they had in those times. So basically, when I'm talking about the tribal system, the tribal social system, we are trying to look into the basic patterns, the patterns of social organization, the social institutions they are having, the kinds of rituals, practices, the way they live their life. So basically, we are trying to look into the different components of the system. So, when we talk about the tribal social system, they are designated. The most important thing is they are designated by a common name. uh, you have the name of a tribe. They can be identified with the name of a sub tribe, or a moiety, or a dual organization. I'll come to each of these component one by one. There is a fratry or a territorial group. We can talk about the clans or the village community. We can talk about the lineage, the family, and other certain components like the marriage patterns there, and the youth dormitory systems that is available in the tribal society. So when we talk about certain tribes, uh, normally we use a common name for them, and basically this name is designated to them on the basis of, you can say, the geographical region. So basically, when you say acha, the Naga tribes, they are so very diverse. When you talk about the Naga tribes, you can have the Angamiao, you can have the Chang, you can have the Konyak, you can have the Foms, the Ringma. But basically, we make the reference to these tribal groups of Nagaland on the basis of certain geographical affiliations. Similarly, when you talk about the Manipuri tribes, you have the Kuki tribes, the old Kukis, the new Kukis. You have the Aimol, the Anai, the Chaute, the Chiru, Kom. There are so many different tribes in Manipur itself. So when I say there is a common name for a tribal group, we are basically using a common name on the basis of the geographical reason. So the same can hold true for you can say the middle India, the hillmen of Rajmahal, popularly known as the Paharias, or talk about western India, the Sahyadri groups, where you have the tribes of Koli, Mahadev, Varli, Kokna. So mostly in the Maharashtra region. Then coming to the tribes, we normally refer to them as a little community. I guess you know what a community is, isn't it? So, what would be the basic characteristics of a community? If any one of you would like to respond, no?
They follow same kind of religion and traditions,
Yes, but the
something like
define
that.
yeah, you are correct. But the defining feature of a community is number one, territoriality. Number two is the bond that we call the we feeling. So normally when we talk of a community, we talk about the village community, the caste community, the tribal community. So there is a territoriality where a common shared kind of a culture is practiced, and there is a kind of a bond among these people. So, but if you look at the idea of community in the present times, it has changed a lot in the sense today we mostly talked about say the community, the online communities, isn't it? The community where certain groups are created because they have a purpose. So, in case of online community, we cannot talk about this idea of territoriality. And look at the classroom itself. I guess we are so very dispersed. We have challenged the idea of a physical community. If I take the classroom as a community, that physicality of a classroom, it has been you know the way I can see my screen with each one of you in your squares, and each one of you located in your separate geographical locales. Maybe somebody would be from Bengal, somebody would be from in Odisha, also somebody would be from Bhubaneswar, somebody would be from some other remote corner, some other parts of the world, somebody from abroad also can join. So the in a present times, the idea of community has been challenged as far as territoriality is concerned, but the we feeling, the idea of we feeling remains the same. So basically, when we talk about the tribe, Murdoch has said that tribe is a social group in which there are many clans, nomadic bands, villages, and they usually have a definite geographical area. Basically, we have another name for the tribes. We call them Adivasis or the Girijans. The Girijans means the people from the hills. So somehow the tribes have been the one who have lived in the outskirts, in the hilly region, and that is how we have designated their community as the hill dwellers. And because of your geography has a lot of contribution to our social and cultural life. We cannot off late we have started realizing that. Look at the dress pattern, look at the food we eat, look at our accent also. uh, that has a direct implication on your geographical region, because the availability of the local resources would force you to invent new kinds of cuisines that is so very local to that geographical region. I would say, if I would say that, okay, why do people in Afghanistan, why don't they go vegetarian? They cannot go vegetarian because they will not have enough plantation. Or if I say that, why is it that uh, the people from Europe, they have such a kind of an accent when they speak English. The thing is that, theirs is a cold country. They would not like to open up their lips too much, because cold air would enter and they would not be feeling comfortable. But that's not the case of people like us who belong to tropical regions. So our accent would also vary according to the climate, the geographical region. So that's the reason when we talk about the tribes, you cannot simply separate the idea of geography, the idea of natural environment, and the natural setting that they hail from. It is very, very, what we can say, uh, intimate to their culture. Okay, so when we talk about this little tribal community, we have to talk about the geography, we have to talk about the language, we have to talk about the distinct cultures they hold. And remember, all these things are interdependent. And when we talk about them, we also at the same time, we are also concerned about the kind of political organizations that the tribals have in their societies. It is not that they are completely apolitical. It might be in a very simple form, but still they have certain kind of a political organization. So the first and foremost thing about it, that if I'm talking about a kind of a political organization, they will not entertain a stranger into it. Basically, they have this concept of the dekus, the non-tribal, means the exploiters who are not a part of their community. In this case, Majumdar says that the tribes are a collection of group of families, he says. And when you talk about these tribes, ordinarily they are endogamous in nature. They are the members who confine their marriages within that tribe. That's the reason we call them endogamous. They constitute a, uh, what we can say, that a clan. And based on it, they have certain totemic identities, and they have a kind of a common residence. And I guess you have already gone through, you have completed the class on understanding tribes. I guess in that paper you might have got the conceptual understanding of the term tribe, like how the term is different from Adivasis, why we don't use the term Aborigines, how the term scheduled caste made its entry through certain constitutional, what we can, certain articles, especially the article 366. So basically, this is how you define a tribe, and how these definitions have little nuance. They are nuanced from each other. When I say Adivasi is different from the indigenous, what does it mean? There are certain nuances. I guess you have completed them in your first paper. Then, coming to your idea of tribes, we actually try to define the tribe in terms of certain characteristics. As I told you, that geography or topography is one of the important characteristics. Second is that they are endogamous in nature. Third, they have a common dialect they can speak. They have a common system of offering prayers to the god. They need to protect themselves from outsiders. They are completely, what you say, a dislike for that. They have a distinct political organization. And most important thing that makes them a community apart from geography is the sense of homogeneity they have among themselves. They are bonded by the kind of sentiments that holds them together, by their belief system, by their practices. So these are the kind of homogeneity that keeps them bonded. And if you look at Robert Redfield's idea, he has said that there are four qualities for the tribal community to follow. They are distinctiveness, they are very small, the groups are very small, they're homogeneous, and they are self-sufficient. So since they're compact, they're small, it is easy for them to retain their homogeneity. They think alike, they would behave similarly in a context. So their behavior patterns, everything is so very structured. Talking about The sub tribe, we can say that a tribe is divided into few groups depending on their economy, or you can say their ecology, or the sense of isolation they have. So when you talk about these sub tribes, they are again, you can say, they are reason based in the sense that, for example, Vidyarthi and BK Rai, they have talked about the Himalayan tribes, or you can talk about the Ringmas of Nagaland. As I told you that, we mark them on the basis of certain reasons. In central India, you have the Birhors. They have two subgroups like Janghi and Ultu, based on their habitation. So you know it is a kind of either the geographical reason or a kind of a geographical isolation, because most of the tribes, they are isolated. They, as a group, they are so very homogeneous and they stand together. But as a community, they as members of that community, they stay very united. But when you talk about them, they would love to remain isolated from the mainstream population. And I have told you earlier that their social system is quite different from ours. So the second category is the moiety, or moieties are called half tribes. When a tribe is socially divided into only one group based on their social activity, each of that group is called a moiety. So it is also called a dual organization. The main activity of these two groups of the community, they some kind of regulate the behavior of the people. And moiety may be exogamous. Remember, they are mostly exogamous, and they are rarely, they are seen to be endogamous. And these exogamous dual organizations, they varies from a multiple clan system. The group is usually divided into two parts on the basis of their descent system. What I can say that, a friend Fels, he has expressed that there are certain reciprocal groups. They usually look upon each other in a mixture of, aggression and pride. If you look at these dual organizations among the tribes, they have a sense of rivalry for the other organization. And there is so much of hostility. And they would try to have different identifiers for, as a symbol of their group. And then you have somebody like Lowy, who has said that exogamy readily disappears and readily develops. And he says that, if when does it would when would you see that it's the moiety is in a phase where it's about to disappear, or it's about to go weak. The first, he says that a prosperous moiety grows so large that its members lose a sense of kinship, because the basic characteristics of a tribe is that it's the smallness. The group, the community is always so very small that keeps them united. When that community grows into a big group, the sense of kinship system somehow loses out. And as we say, in the modern society, there is that link gets weakened. But being bound to one's kinship system, it has its different, what do we say, uh, advantages. In the normal modern context, we say that somehow the kinship groups are weakening. But if I say that, have you heard of the Marwari community? And studies on the Marwari community say that there is, you will hardly find a member of this community who is actually poor. The reason being the strong kinship system that they have, which they not only share at a personal level but also at a professional level. So similarly, as the modern world, in the modern world also, this community has kept that kinship tie so very strong. But in the tribal group, you will see that like the modern world that we face, the kinship, if the kinships community gets weakened, the sense of moiety, it might lose its what you say, its bond. And it is also observed that multiple clans may combine into large groups or may die out in the process. So you have many established moieties, like among the Nagas, as I told you, the Ao Nagmas, the Nagas, the Rengma Nagas, the Angami Nagas, mostly they hail from different moieties. Similarly, Srinivas has identified the Tharus. They evolved as a dichotomous organization of their own community into two sections, namely the higher and the lower, and they still retain that kind of what we can say bond among themselves. Then you have the phratry. A group or a sub tribe is divided into a number of clans. So a phratry is actually a cluster of clans. So a few clans unite together to form a clan, to form a a phratry. So according to Mazumdar and Madan, you will say that there are many reasons for these kind of groups to emerge, and you will see that it is very common in the northeastern Himalayan region and in the middle Indian region. Apart from that, you have the local group, like which is very distinct. They have a distinct social system. It comprises of a number of families, like this local group of village community, who actually come as a you know community in terms of their common settlement in a village. They perform certain rites and function. They help each other. They try to help each other in certain economic, social, and religious needs. And as I told you, the basic characteristics of a community is a we feeling. They have this sense of brotherhood, this we feeling when we talk about the local group or the village community. Apart from that, you have the clan. Tribal groups are usually divided into clans, and mostly they have considered the Sips as a clan, and it is a combination of few lineages and descent. Normally, what is a clan? You trace few lineages and descent together, and that makes it a clan. So the Indian tribes, when you talk about the way the clans are organized, you will see that all tribal groups and majority of the groups are based on its totemic principle. Normally, every tribe is assigned with a totem. And what is this totem? The totem could be, it is something that a group identifies with. It could be a kind of an animal or a plant, an animate or an inanimate object. And that if we belong to the same totem, we have the same totem, we are supposed to be belonging to be in the same group. So this clan is like the Gotra system in the Hindu society. And normally, we claim our ancestry to certain kind of rishis. So similarly, they have the kind of what do you say, origin to some kind of totemic objects or animal or human beings. It could be anything. And when you talk about these tribes, the clans in these tribes, you will see that in an all India level, we have been able to uh, have a structure. As far as these clans are concerned, they have been divided and subdivided into different categories of clans. Tribes divided into numerous clans may be called monometric in structure. Monometric means you will find it all over India. For example, the Munda tribes, they are supposed to have 64 clans in the present times. So they have a, what you can say, a pan Indian appearance. Clans grouped mainly into two groups, which may be called diametric structure. They are called also conventionally the moiety. It is found in the Todas of Nilgiri. they have two endogamous groups, that's the Tharjol and the Thebeliol. They consist of 12 and 16 clans respectively. Then you have the clans who are grouped into three or more, who are called the triadic fratry. So then you have the clan that is divided into a number of sub clans. So you will find such different types of structures among the tribal society, the tribal social system. Apart from that, you have this concept of a lineage. Lineage is a group of families having a common ancestor, and even Pritchard says that we are supposed to descend from a common founder and through a particular line. The line of descent is traced. So logically, it includes the dead persons descended from the founders in order to know their genealogical position and identify the living. He therefore suggests four stages of lineage segmentation based on their size, position in the segmentary system, and functions. So there are maximal lineage, major lineage, minor lineage. You can have different types of lineages. A lineage is made up of exclusively of, you can say, blood relatives who denote all members to have descended from a common ancestor. So suppose if you and me, we are supposed to have a we belong to a common lineage, it is accepted that we have a common ancestor. So normally, in Sanskrit we say the Vansh Vriksha, the family tree. Normally, we try to trace the kind of lineage that we belong to. According to Carve, there are two terms, namely the Kula and the Vans. So, in Hindi, we say the Kul. Who is the Kul? Kul is actually, a kind of a localized grand family. And it is important because for an individual, it is important to know the name of his mother, the family, and at the same time, the Kula he or she belongs to. So, if you do not have a Kula, it is supposed that in the tribal society, it is supposed that maybe you are not well born, you don't belong to a well born kind of a family. So when you talk about the ones, see, it says that it's a patrilineal descent that we normally talk about. So we use the idea of ones and kula in very frequently in the tribal society. Then the family, you all know that the basic definition of the family is that it is a social group characterized by common residence, economic cooperation, and reproduction. It includes both the genders, adults of both the genders, at least two of whom maintain a socially approved sexual relationship, one or more children. And at the same time, when we talk about the family, we talk about the common kitchen, we talk about a common household. But again, as I told you, the way we have seen that in modern times, the definition of community is changing, so is the definition of family. We have today we talk about transnational families, where families lie across different continents. Suppose look at the NRIs, the diasporic family. They lie so very dispersed. A Tamilian who was born in India and who migrated to America, say, two generations before, for marriage alliances, that person may not seek some Tamilian from India, even though they would like to stick to the community of being a Tamilian, but they could go for Malaysian Tamilians or Sri Lankan Tamilians. So, the moment you talk about your family, you say, okay, my daughter-in-law is is from Sri Lanka, or my son-in-law is from again Malaysia. So that diversity of family has come up in the modern times, but in the traditional concept we need to see that whether we have to look at the tribal societies in the same way. So normally traditional ethnographers, when they visit a family, they look into the household, they look into the what do you say, the way they try to map, the decent system. They say that how it is important, and the kind of activities these family members have, and how these practices vary from different groups. So maybe you might not, the kind of transnationality that I'm talking about, you might not see it in the tribal society, but at the same time, what I'm trying to say that as an ethnographer who is trying to look into this tribal society need to see and understand the new patterns that he or she can recognize in the tribal social system today. Besides, when you look at the different patterns of tribal social system, you will see that there are the tribes living who are living in one group. They carry out various activities for their existence. They have certain, they share a common kind of a bond with each other. They share certain common activities. And the in case of India, TC Das has revealed about seven types of tribal organizations: the family local group tribe, families clan tribes, family moieties tribe, family clan phratries and tribe, families clans phratries moieties and tribe. This is the kind of an organization how they're divided and subdivided. So basically, these are the broad categories. And if you look at the concentration of tribes in the Indian region, we have certain geographical zones on the basis of which we can draw certain similarities among tribes. Say in the north, you have the northeastern zone. In the northeastern zone, you have, we cannot say that the tribes, the entire, we cannot take the entire tribal population of northeast India as a monolithic structure. No, they have different cultural practices. They vary so much in their belief system, their rituals, their social institutions. But as I told you, there is a common kind of a name that we give. So that common name could be this northeastern zone, and that might include Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, Tripura, the Himalayan brands of Himachal Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh. So northeast zone, Darjeeling in West Bengal. So the tribes of this zone mostly we try to recognize by the kind of racial origin they have, and we call them to be the Mongoloid race. And you have the tribes like the Nagas, the Garo, the Khasi, the Lapcha, the Bhutia. They belong to this northeastern zone. And in no way I'm trying to suggest these tribals are homogeneous. No, they are not. But this is just a reference point in terms of the major geographical zones we are trying to demarcate. Central zone. In the central zone, you consist of the West Bengal tribes, the Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, North and Central Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Odisha. And the maximum concentration of tribes you will find in the regions of Kond, the Bhumij. So they form again another reason, and the similarity among these tribes is that they have a shifting kind of cultivation. They depend on hunting and food gathering system. Looking at the western zone, you have the states of Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Dadar Nagar Haveli, Goa, Daman and Diu. And here, as I told you, again they depend on shifting cultivation, hunting and weaving. Looking at the southern zone, you have the Tamil, the regions of Tamil Nadu, then the erstwhile regions of Travancore, Cochin, Wayanad, Kurg Hills, the entire Andhra, Karnataka, Tamil, the western regions, the Deccan region, they are denoted by the southern zone tribes. Then tribes of erstwhile Travancore and Cochin, as I told, we again make another reference point to them because they are marked with their, their locational position of being a part of the Western Ghats. They are one of the most primitive tribes in India. The tribes are mainly the Kadar, the Kanikar, the Malai Padaram, the Muduvan, and some of them work as laborers in coffee and rubber estates. As you know, that these are the reason which are the major producers of coffee and rubber. And but we cannot deny that they do not depend on forest products at this moment of time. They still do. Tribes of Wayanad, they are part of the Nilgiri plateaus, and they are mostly, the you know they have a very rigid matrilineal system, you can say. And they are, some of these tribes are the Kurumbas, and the Kurumbas are again divided into the Mulla Kurumbas and the Urali Kurumba. So their main occupation is agriculture, and apart from that, they have certain skills like being blacksmiths, carpenters, porters, basket makers. Then you have the tribes of South Kannada and Coorg Hills. Mostly they are into basket making and agriculture. They speak the language both Tulu and Kannaris. The tribes of Deccan region of Andhra Pradesh. Again, you will find the tribes of Chenchu and Gond, Naipod. These are the tribes that you will find in and around the Krishna River in Andhra Pradesh. So then you have the tribes of agency areas of Andhra Pradesh, the eastern Godavari and Visakhapatnam districts, so the mountainous regions of the part. And there you have the Kond, the Koya, and the Konda Reddy tribes. The Savara are also found in Visakhapatnam and in some regions of Odisha. And mostly they are Dravidian speaking tribes. Then tribes of Nilgiris, you will find the Badaga, the Kota, and the Toda tribes there. And you have again the tribes of Andaman Nicobar and Lakshadweep Islands. So these are the major zones on which we try to divide the tribes of India. Then apart from that, I will take up the unit on tribal religion. Uh, when we talk about religion, the way we religion being another component of the tribal social structure. When we talk about the religion, we can see that it is a system of belief and practice by which a group of people they interpret, they respond to what they feel is supernatural and sacred. So, if you might have heard that this term religion has its origin from a Latin word called religio, which means itself it is derived from the root leg, that means to gather, count, or observe, and to bind together. So, different social thinkers have different ideas of religion. If you have read Durkheim was the one who said that you know religion has a function in the society. It is a unified system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things, that is to say, it is set apart and forbidden. And what is sacred? It when everybody approves it, it has the approval of the entire society, that turns out to be sacred. And religion is, it reinforces the social norms and values of the society. And religion has a function in the society, and that function is to promote social solidarity. I'll give you an example. When I say that, okay, you have a piece of stone lying under a tree, that stone doesn't make any sense to you. You can just kick it with your foot and try to make a football out of it. But one fine morning you will see that somebody has put a red mark, a vermilion mark on that stone. And that is how you have this feeling in you that, okay, it's no more a simple stone. Now it has earned the status of being a god, isn't it? So basically, Durkheim says that how something becomes a sacred thing, entity, the moment you have the acknowledgement from the rest of the society that it is sacred. And basically it is something that you arrive at a consensus, and the major purpose of religion is to feed that sense of solidarity, that bond among the members of the society. But on the other hand, somebody like Marx said that, he was a non-believer, and he said that, it is your the pain that you go through in your everyday life, the kind of oppression and exploitation you see in your life, that makes you believe and create a god for your survival. So basically, religion is a sign of the oppressed creature. He says that, okay, the more religious you are, the more oppressed you are. That is how what Karl Marx believed. But you know, right from the apart from these thinkers, the classical thinkers, you have a strong, robust form of tribal religion that existed from since primitive pre-modern times. And there you will see that, according to Tyler said, he was somebody who gave you this concept of the primitive man, and the kind of religion he followed. And he talked about a particular religion, that is animism, that the primitive human beings followed. This The idea was that, man was man, I'm talking about this category in a very generic sense, not in a gender sense. I can say, okay, you talk about any human beings, and human beings in the primitive times, they have always had dreams of various activities, and in your dreams you see many pleasant, many weird things. You tend to meet the dead, you tend to hallucinate things. And when uh, you know you see the echoes of your own voice, you see many unimaginable things which you might not have experienced in your real life. So in those days, when you are talking about dreams, I had no answer as to why do I get dreams. Till Freud talked about interpretation of dreams, but still we do not have much idea about dreams. And in those primitive times, when they had limited faculties of experimenting, or science had never gone far, it was very difficult to digest those dreams. And they thought that perhaps there is something called the soul, or a spirit, which is you know which is part of which comes in your dream, or which when you are dead, the soul migrates. And Tyler says that a primitive man must have thought that there must be two souls in human beings. The a soul which is free, which could go out of him and have experiences, because while you are in your dream, you may not be in your locale, you may not be in your immediate surrounding. Maybe you are transported to some other world, some different kind of experience which you never had when you are awakened, or when you are alive. So that is the free soul that could go out of your body, have the experience, and get into your body again. And the other soul is when we die. It completely lefts your body, leaves your body, and you become a dead person. So with this kind of a, what do you say, conclusion, the primitive persons, they could think about that the soul leaving the body permanently. So the person con whose soul has left him or her uh, becomes dead. But that ultimately, that soul is what? Not that soul is perhaps a spirit or a ghost. And this is called animism, that was given by E.B. Tyler. So that was one of the first explanations of tribal religion given in the primitive times. Then you have this concept of high god among the tribes. What is this high god? Now, high god is a personal kind of a deity which is superior to all gods. I mean, the high god is not the one who would look into your day to day affairs, but the high god in return, what you can say, has a different, you know, superiors, we can say that this they have created, this high god is the creator of the universe. He has created human beings, he has created other deities and spirits and other people. So this high god is rarely worshipped because he has assigned different duties to other gods, and normally they look into your immediate needs, and they are really worshipped. But there is this high god who exists, and at the same time you will have that the tribals, they have always believed in these kind of spirits and gods or supernatural agencies, because when you don't have any answer to any kind of what you say, when you are sick, you are falling ill, or when you are losing a near or dear one, you don't have an answer to it. So it is something which is, superhumanly, it is impersonal. And at the same time, when you are not able to cure yourself, I am having a deadly disease, and medical science has not gained that much of prominence in these societies, and there I don't have a way out. I can only believe that, okay, some kind of a spirit has, doomed on me. You remember when you have measles, here we say that in most of the tribal societies they believe that, a tribal goddess has actually, you know he see, or the tribal goddess, she has entered your body, and so they have different explanations for diseases, for any kind of natural disaster, for any kind of mishaps that or misfortune that they witness in their day to day life, that they believe that there is a spirit behind it, and that's the reason they need to appease that kind of a spirit. Okay, now can we take some questions? You have any doubt till now whatever we have discussed? Do we have any
Mm.
doubt?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. Is it that boring, or it's just absolutely too very abstract? Okay, we will then take a break, a 5 minutes break, and I will come back exactly at 4. It's 3:56. We have 4 minutes time, so maybe I will come back in 4 minutes time. In the meantime, you can just bring some water or see whatever doubts you have.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, we will start. We'll again continue with what we have been discussing right now. That was, we have completed talking about tribal social system, and at the same time, parts of animism and the concept of high god. Now, talking about the tribes of India, as I told you that we have demarcated the tribes of India into several zones, being the North Northeast zone, the Central India zone, the Western Indian zone, Southern India, and in fact, each zone has their idea of you know religion that goes quite strong with their social practices. So, for example, if you look at Western India, in parts of you have the wills, in parts of Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and many scholars think that the wills have been Hinduized in some way or the other. As I was having a discussion on totemism, and in that context, you can see that the wills of this Western India, they trace their origin to a tiger ancestor, and there are the Jhabua hills who at the same time believe in Bhagwan or Bholoiswar, and then the kind of you know rituals that they have, it is normally they tend to practice when there is somebody who is dead in a locality. Normally they have certain practices, certain rituals in the dead person's house, and you have this concept of nukto. Nukta is is the main ritual that they try to do it in the dead person's house, and it purifies the spirit of the dead. And this once this nukto is done, that dead person can unite with Bhagwan. Then you have like something like this parvej, which is the uh, collective ancestor, and this Parvej accompanies the spirit to the other world. So, apart from that, you will see that in Northeast India, this is the time when Christianity made its mark in this region, and there you will see that some spirits are considered to be extremely powerful, uh, and they can be seen, objectified in the stone, in the natural resources, in the river, the tree, the mountains. They find that okay, there is some kind of spirit existing in these resources, natural resources, and they believe that there were many spirits who are like really helpful and kind, and some are like evil spirits. So every person can turn out to be a good spirit or an evil spirit. So the spirits, they need to be kept happy by some kind of an sacrifice, and these people, these tribes, they normally worshipped a supreme god. As I told you that supreme god enjoys the highest position, and uh, in order to keep that that reason, keep it peaceful, and see to it that no kind of disaster affects it. This uh, this supreme god is often worshipped. Besides, you will see the Khasi tribe in the Meghalaya. They also believe in a supreme being, and they also try to appease it through different means. And there you will see that some kind of augury is also practiced, where they try to predict the future, and it is quite common among the Khasis of Meghalaya. Besides, you have the Naga tribes, and they believe that there is an earthquake god who has created the earth out of waters by earthquakes, and there is the son of the god. Who? watches over. And if you do anything wrong, they try to punish it. And they see, God in every natural resource, be it the lakes, the ponds, the mountains. They try to identify it with a god. Then you have the tribes of central India. For example, the Mundas of Midnapur. They also believe in nature, and they, apart from it, they believe in this concept of the witch or a Dian. And this witch, she is always a female. She is supposed to be a female, and she is the one who can attack both the men and the women equally. And normally they wouldn't, or they very rarely they would speak about the witch in open, and they believe that the witch can hear them from, even if they utter her word. So normally they do not wish to speak about her or talk about her, and especially in front of an outsider. So besides, you have, the witch is the one who attacks some person if she tends to dislike you. In Odisha, you will find the Santal tribe who believe in this Thakurji, and they believe Thakurji actually controls the entire universe. Apart from that, you have the tribes of southern India, especially the Todas of Nilgiris, who actually have both a male god and a female god. The male deity is the Amnodar, and the female is the Teikirji. And it is supposed that they both, work towards the well-being of that society. Then apart from that, you have shamanism, especially among the Soras of Odisha. You will see that there are a number of shamans, and they, especially their duty is to protect the living from the onslaught of the dead spirits. So they try to protect the living man, and normally it is the man, only a man can become a saman. As I told you, there is a idea of gender existing in every religion. Normally the witch is a female, and the saman is actually a male. And normally, it's not a free choice that if a person becomes a saman or not. um, they cannot refuse it. It is actually decided in certain context. Apart from that, you have bongaism. It is seen among the Mundas and the Ho tribes of the Chota Nagpur area. And the bonga is, it has a kind of a power, and it can, it uses dream as a medium to foretell your future or warn you about certain bad things that is about to occur. So basically, bonga is a supernatural manifestation, and any person can be possessed by the bonga, and they can help you in these context. So, very briefly, we have talked about the tribes, the religious aspect of the tribes. Now, I will try to take up the other thing, that is, just give me a moment. Now we will tend to discuss the rites of passage. That is the important, what we say, rituals that marks the different junctures of one's life journey. And especially these junctures could be birth, uh, pregnancy, childbirth, death. So there are certain rites of passage in which we tend to, you know have a celebration of that important aspect of one's life. And Arnold Jennep actually talked about it. And in that connection, Jennep has outlined different biological stages of life: birth, maturity, reproduction, and death. So these are the four different life sequences, and we have so many what we can say cultural forms and rituals that revolves around these four different phases of life. So basically in this rites of passage we tend to have different events of life cycles where we tend to ritualize certain events, and basically the these ceremonies that centers around these major events of your life cycle, it is not just about informing you about that particular event in your life, but it's an indicator of an identity, new identity that that individual is going to have with that change in his or her life. So basically, there is a change in your status, there is a change in your position, there is a change in your role. So that brings about a new kind of an identity for the individual. So Jennep says that this rites of passage, it has a threefold process. There are phases of separation where you tend to separate yourself from, maybe from your existing environment. There is a phase of you can say segregation, integration. These are all life changing events, and the reason is that normally, when if you use a metaphor that the life is like a house, and each person with different thresholds are they are moving from one room to another. So each of these rites are like celebrating that passage from one room to another, or from one role to another role, and the new identity that one is trying to take. So I will just very briefly talk about few of the rituals that is that mostly you will see among some of the tribes here. Firstly, when it comes to pregnancy and childbirth rights, it is very important. These rights are mostly seen in majority of the tribes, and even in the non-tribals also you will find these kind of rituals. For example, among the Todas, when a woman becomes pregnant, she is forbidden to enter the village or the sacred places. So normally they don't allow her entry into the village or any of the sacred places like the temples or anything. In the fifth month, there is a ceremony called Village We Leave. At this time, the woman must live in a special hut that is separated, uh, from the mainstream life, and he she stays in that hut, and she tries to invoke two deities, Pirn and Piri. And normally, she has to take up certain rituals living in that hut. She goes back to live in her house only after the seventh month. So during that seventh month, you might have read about it earlier also, there is this ceremony of the bow and the arrow. And here normally there is an unborn child of the, in Todas, since the Todas they practice polyandry, it is difficult to determine the biological father of the child. So normally they have this concept of the social father for that unborn child. And normally with this bow and arrow ceremony, they try to establish that idea of social fatherhood. So once it is done, the woman returns to her house. She performs the appropriate rites. And the last two ceremonies that occur during the first pregnancy, or if the woman has a new husband, uh, is that this is the last ceremony. And then you know the once the baby is given birth, she tends to 2 or 3 days later, the woman and the child, they again go to live in the same hut after the baby is given hut. So the rites are performed for the departure from the house, and then there is a departure from the hut and return to the house. So for every little movement, they it is marked with certain kind of rituals. Then these we have a very rich ethnographic detail by the works of Van Gennep, then WHR Rivers. They have an ethnography among the Tongas tribe of India. Then among the Gonds also, many restrictions are placed on these tribal women. For example, a tribal woman shouldn't go fishing or shouldn't take up those things, eat those things that are tabooed. During her first pregnancy, she is sent to her parents house either in the 7th or the 9th month. A special medicine with boiled and dried ginger pipali that is given to her, it is prepared and given to her. Then the child and the mother, they, once that child is born, a purificatory birth takes place, where when the woman is pregnant, it is considered that her body is impure, so she has to take a purificatory birth, after which she can only continue her domestic rituals. Similarly, among the Kolam tribe of Andhra Pradesh, normally they do everything. They normally go for their domestic course in till their delivery time, and they don't have any such taboos as far as food is concerned. But they have one restriction which you will find in most of other cultures, also in non-tribal cultures also, that the woman shouldn't see the solar or the lunar eclipse, because it is said that the child may be born with a single eye or can go blind, so it is considered to be very inauspicious for the woman. So these are some of the reasons. And in this, among these Kolam tribes, you will see that uh, when she is pregnant, she is supposed to do everything on her own. And normally after the child is delivered, the woman is considered to be, as I told you, in most of the culture it is considered in unclean and impure. She has to take bath and wash her clothes, and for which she would not receive any help from anyone. She would go to the stream, and she would have and it has to be located in the outskirts of the village. The food that is cooked is cooked in the house, and it is sent to her. So she has to remain in a solitary confinement till her umbilical cord has dried up and fallen off. And this is considered to be again, that the puritory stage would begin after the umbilical cord has fallen off. Then both the child and the mother, they take up a purificatory birth, and a community dinner is arranged. So this is actually the about the first phase. Then you have the puberty and the initiation rites. And when you have certain physical changes seen in the boys or the girls body, normally they take up this initiation rites. And among the girls, it is seen when they attain puberty, these initiation rites are performed. And especially the reason behind this initiation rite is the mark of their entry into adulthood, into a new stage of life, and where they are trying to take up a new identity. So among the Kolam tribes, you will see that the first time a girl menstruates, no such specific rites or rituals are observed, but it is considered to be unclean and impure. So that girl has to take bath in a nearby stream. And in case she has menstruated outside the village, then maybe a temporary hut would be constructed for her, where she can, or if she is in her house, she has to remain in one of the corners of the house. She shouldn't be touching others. She needs to sleep on the floor, eat on the paper leaves, sorry, I mean leaf plates. So there are certain taboos where the utensils of or the household goods, they would be defiled with her polluting touch. That is the belief among the tribes of the Kolam. And then when you talk about the initiation ceremony, you will see that between the age of 15 to 18, normally they undergo this initiation ceremony before marriage. Otherwise, they will not have the eligibility for the marriage. If, I mean, in case they haven't gone through that initiation ceremony, they will not be considered eligible. So, among the columns, you will see that uh, the boy who has to be initiated is dressed like a woman with sari and other ornaments. He is accompanied by his own brother-in-law and village priest, and they visit the village deity. They carry along with them bread made of jowar or wheat flour, or they, they have to make an offering before the village deity, and only then they can come back home. The village priest worships the village deity, and there they have to sacrifice a cock. So after completion of the rituals and the prayers, they have to go home after that. So that is the, after this ritual, the boy is for the first time recognized to be an adult member of the family. And the, prime marker to this is that he is eligible to accept sacred food offered to gods and goddesses. Eating of sacred food can only make him eligible to marriage. So prior to this, he or she cannot have that sacred food. It is tabooed. And here you will see that among the Korwa tribes of Chota Nagpur in village in Bihar, uh, girls who are menstruating, they must sit apart from other persons at the time of eating. They cannot eat with them. They shouldn't jump. They shouldn't eat cold things or pickles. So they have to remain in isolation. Uh, or they have to enter the room by some other, rear end door or something. They cannot enter the house by the main door. And after 4 days, they need to go to the nearby stream and go for a purification bath. Then the third rite is the marriage rite. So when you talk about this marriage rites, for example, I'll give you we'll be talking about the Cubist tribe of Northeast India. Here you will see that wedding ceremony is solemnized at the residence of the bridegroom. In the early morning of the day, a ritual called Guak Pai Jamai is performed, in which a healthy pig on behalf of the bride is offered to the supreme god. Guak means pig. The pig is roasted and cut into small pieces, and then it is boiled. This boiled meat will be taken to the groom's house. After morning food is over, the bride will take bath and put traditional marriage dress and costumes, and she will be held by her sister-in-laws. So this is the kind of ritual you will find among the northeastern tribes. Among the codes of southern India, you will see that you know there is an agreement between the families, that when they have between the families has, that a girl is dressed in red blanket, and then she is carried to the groom's village by her maternal uncle. And there the groom is accompanied by some young boys from his village, and they tend to attack him, the groom, with bamboo sticks. Uh, the women attack the young men, hitting them with stick stones, and the boys defend themselves in their sticks. Bit by bit, they all approach the village, and when they reach it, the fighting stops. So the groom's uncle take the brides and carries her into the groom's house. The fighting is no means child's play, and the men are seriously injured. They take this fighting very seriously. It is not just a kind of a, orchestrated drama. Among the Votias of Sikkim, you will see that the astrologers, actually they take the help of the astrologers who give a projected date for that marriage time. The uncles of the girls and the boy, they receive some kind of presents. They meet um, the boy in their house, in the boy's house. And uh, if the dowry amount is decided there itself, then a feast is given, and it is later marked with a ceremony called nayan, in which all it is attended by relatives of both the bride, and the bride price is actually paid at this time of the period. Then lastly, you have the funeral rites. As I told you, all these rites mark some important feature of one's life. And when it comes to the death, and Robert Hertz says that the funeral rites invoke a kind of a parallel process in which the decay of the dead reflects the path of grief in the bereaved. And bereavement is also a kind of a social change status for the people. Say, from being a wife, now you are a widow. From being a child, to your parents, you are now an orphan. uh, from being a subordinate in the family, when you lose an elder in the home, say your father or your elder brother, you get the status of being a head of the family. So these are again status changes, and it invokes certain kind of you can say psychological changes of identity that is associated with such shifts. Human beings, they are dependent on each other, and that is the reason they tend to have these kind of rights, where a kind of recognition is given by the entire society after the death of someone, that the entire community marks the changing status of that individual. So that's the reason, in the presence of everybody, when you know that you depend on each other psychologically, you tend to announce your new identity, your new status before the community. And at the same time, you have the fear of ghosts, spirits. They are related to both your status and identity. So when you talk about these uh, you talk about the dead who have not been moved, who has not been able to move successfully from this part of the world to the other. uh, they are those, you have this idea that the soul is stuck somewhere, so you perform the last rite, so that you believe that as a responsible member of a family or the community, you have given justice to the soul in finding his or her final destination with the supreme being. So some funeral rites, they exist to try to get some kind of spiritual forces finally to leave the world of the living, and get into your future destiny, where you enter a new kind of a world. So in terms of identity, this time the identity of the living, the ghost and the spirits, they include uh, the dream of the dead. Just give me a minute, I'll be just back in a moment. Yeah. So what I was trying to say, that when you talk about uh, the kind of new identity that somebody takes up with your idea of somebody taking up a new life, and when somebody dies, or somebody you know takes up the journey to the other world, that has a different significance. So basically, as I told you, at the community level, you are trying to deal with the sense of bereavement, that okay, so you have lost somebody, but at the same time there is a change of status in that person's life. as I told you, the change of status in taking up new responsibilities and new roles. And from then onwards, you will be looked at differently by the society. And apart from that, when you talk about the man's soul, whether you have been able to give justice through your final funeral rites, that also makes an important what we say disclosure in terms of making yourself responsible, that you have been able to give justice, that okay, with physical death, there is the old status of that soul, it has also gone. And now that goal is out for its final destination. So for example, you can look at the goans. The goans, they cremate and bury their dead. Children, unmarried persons, and individuals who die an inauspicious death, maybe because of some disaster or some epidemic, they are buried without much ceremony. It is believed that okay, if you had an unnatural death and it was not natural and it was marked by some kind of natural or physical disaster, then they don't go for a grand ceremony for that. Goans believe that humans have a life force and a spirit. On death, uh, the life force is reincarnated into another earthly existence, but the spirit remains in the other world. Then the goons perform the death ritual to help the spirit move into the other world. As I have already told you, that most of the tribes, they believe in these kind of rituals. These rites are known as karun, and there are certain ancestral spirits that would be watching over you. And if you are in some way doing it the wrong way, or not doing justice to the role you need to take up, they might punish you as an offender. So these ancestral spirits are the guardians of the god communities. Then you have the among the Manjwar, you have the Manjhi. Manjha is again a small tribe, a mixed tribe who have originated from the Gonds, the Mundas, and the Kawars. So when a person is at the point of death, they place a little cooked rice and curd in his mouth, so that that person doesn't take up his journey to the other world empty stomach. So that is the reason, and the reason is that normally when somebody is on the verge of death, that person might have fallen ill, and they would not be in a position to eat anything. Then some cotton and rice are placed near the head of the corpse in the graveyard itself, so that they have this feeling that okay, they have that dead spirit has certain food to eat with them in their final destination. They can take up some, they have something to wear. And for the next 5 days, mourning is observed. And among the cold tribes, you will see that they have a different kind of a rite, being funeral rite for the dead. You will see that immediately after death, the corpse is placed on the ground, so that the soul should easily move from its, go for its destination to the home of the dead, which they believe is under the earth itself. And in order to make that journey easier, they put the corpse under the ground. The corpse is washed, painted yellow to chase away evil spirits, so that nobody stops him or her in their final journey. And you have neighbors and relatives who offer certain cries before the corpse. Then the dead is placed in a scaffold with the feet facing forward, so that the soul should not find way back to the hurt, and so that they can travel immediately to the house of the dead. And here you will see that mostly the women cry and the men remain silent. Each man carries a piece of wood to throw on the pyre. Rice and tools of the uh, you know of the dead persons, certain tools are kept near that corpse. in terms of rice cakes, silver coins, and that is how they believe that even after death there is some kind of life residing, and in order to make things easier for the final journey they tend to make these kind of arrangement. Among the Lusai tribes of North India, you will see that the dead is dressed in in the best of clothes and tied in a sitting position on a scaffold or bamboo, while next to him certain tools and weapons are kept. A pig, a goat, a dog are killed, and all the relatives, friends, neighbors divide the meat. The this is all also, the dead is also given a share of the food and drink. After night, that dead body is placed in the grave that has been dug next to his house. Then, so that his near and dear ones can say a goodbye to him or her. Then the soul is accompanied by those you know who have been a part of the entire that ceremony. And there you will see that women can neither fight or give food during this feast. And the soul leaves that place. It is supposed that the soul would leave the home, leave for the home of the dead immediately from his own home. And then we will take up the final unit in this block, um, that is about tribal language, art, and culture. And as I have told you earlier also, India as such is a country with multicultural diversities. And when you talk about the tribes, so much of plurality exists among them. We cannot say that okay, the tribes of India in a very monolithic sense, their languages, their culture, their art forms, they are so very diverse. And that is the reason when we talk about the tribes, as I told you earlier, that tribes are considered to be a socio-political organization consisting of a number of families, clans, and other groups who share a common kind of an ancestry and culture. So this term can be traced back to 13th century medieval English, where tribes are you know uh, meant to be the biblical connotation of the 12 tribes of Israel. So the word is from the French word tribu or the Latin word tribus, which means tribes. And if you look at the in the Indian context, uh, you will find the tribes in all nooks and corners of this country. And Dr. B.C. Guha has actually uh, categorized the tribes into six main ethnic groups, namely the Negritos. The Negritos, they are the ones with broad heads, and they are mostly from Africa, and they have survived their original habitat in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So, mostly when we talk about the Negrito tribes today, we refer to the Andamani tribes. Then you have the pro Australoids or the ostrix. The ostrix, they are the ones who are represented with wavy curly hair. They have brown bodies, they have long head, a low forehead, prominent ridge eyes, noses, thick jaws. So basically, the regions of Myanmar, islands of Southeast Asia are believed to be the hub of these kind of people, and these were supposed to be the pro-Australoids or the ostrix were supposed to be the main architects of the Indus Valley civilization. Then you have the Mongoloid tribes. Mongoloid tribes are the people you can see. who are more closer to Mongolia, China, and Tibet. These tribal groups are located in northeastern part of India, and mostly you will find them in Assam, Nagaland, in the northeast region itself, and also in Ladakh and Sikkim. Then you have the Dravidians. Dravidians, they have spread across the entire nation, and if you look at their population, they have perhaps surpassed the Negritos and the Ostrics, and they were the ones behind the Harappan civilization, and they were also part of the Indus Valley civilization. It was supposed to be like that, and this group comprises of the whole of the we normally talk to them in terms of the Oriental group. Then you have the Western Brachycephalus. Normally, the Parsi communities are supposed to be a part of this. Then you have the Nordics. Nordics are Indo-Aryans and the last immigrants into India, and they comprise of these Indo-Aryan categories. Uh, so their first home was Western and northern Punjab, from where they have spread to the valley of the Ganges and beyond. So Nordics are the tribe, categories of tribes who belong to the upper caste. So, if you talk about this country, or you will see that Indian languages have, if you talk about languages in general, also they have evolved from six uh, set of categories: the Indo-Aryan languages, the Dravidian, the Sino-Tibetan, the Negroid, the Austric, and the others. Talking about the tribal languages, tribal languages are, as I told you earlier, it is so very vast. uh, Talk about the Garo language that is spoken by the tribals of the Garo Hills, Meghalaya, Tripura, Western Assam. It has several dialects in itself: the Megam, the Chisak, the Tong. Many tribal language. It's spoken by the Abujmar Hills of Bastar, and then you have other tribal speaking groups like Garo tribes, Chakma tribes, Naga tribes, Gond tribes. So it forms one of those important language among the tribals. Apart from tribal languages, there is this Gadaba language spoken by the Koraput district tribes in Odia, um, and Arya is spoken by the Madhya Pradesh tribes. Then you have Sangla, that is spoken by the villages of Arunachal Pradesh. You have so many Indian tribes that you will find them so very organized. The language is so very organized. Uh, the list of elementary similarity between you'll find between Garo and Mag language, as both tribes they belong to the same origin. You have the Munda, the Santhali, the Kol, Khasia, Garo, Kuru. They are interrelated languages. You will find some kind of similarity between these languages. Then you have the Indo-Aryan tribal languages. In Indo-Aryan tribal languages, there are three main languages: the Bhil language, the Khandesi language, the Halabi language. These three languages have been categorized as language and mainly spoken in Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Maharashtra. Khandesi group, it is also found among the Indo-Aryan tribes language, and it is mostly spoken by about a million. Yeah. You have the Kavari and Katkari language. It is again another Indo-Aryan tribal language that is spoken in Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, and Maharashtra. Tribes of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, they speak Kishtwari, belonging to the Indo-Aryan group of tribal language. Koch is spoken by tribes of Tripura, Kuch, and Tripura Kuch Belhar district in West Bengal. Then you have Konkani and Goanis. They are very similar to this Indo-Aryan tribal languages. The third main language of this group is the Halbi or Halabi, that is spoken in Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. Then you have another major category of this language, that is the Tibeto-Burman tribal language. It is mostly spoken in northern and northeastern regions. Since the language is spoken by the families of tribes, it's so similar to that of the languages spoken in Myanmar, now Burma. That is the Tibeto-Burman category. So line languages of the Bodo subfamily, that is the part of this Tibeto-Burman Burmese language. You will see that the Bodo, the Garo, Tripuri, Mikir, Rabha, Dimasa, Lalung, Diori, Koch. These are the language that is spoken, mostly in the Brahmaputra Valley, North Kachar Hills in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and then you have certain languages, four languages in the Naga group, that is spoken by in the states of Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, North Manipur, and Mizoram. Then you have the Garo language, as I told you earlier, also mostly spoken in the hills of Meghalaya, uh, and in states of Assam like Dhubri, Golpara, Kamrup, and Daran. So the popular tribal language is spoken in the neighboring country of Bangladesh as well. Garo language uses Latin alphabets. This language has close association with Bodo language, and it is mostly spoken by the Bodo tribal community, which is one of the most prominent communities of the Indian state of Assam. Garo language is again a part of the Tibeto-Burman language. Garo tribal language doesn't comprise any tones. Then you have the Dravidian tribal language, and it is mostly spoken in the South Asian states in India. You'll find it in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, and there, the Dravidian languages, mainly Kaikadi, is one of the major Dravidian languages that is spoken in Karnataka and Maharashtra. Then Kanikaran, that is spoken in Ernakulam. uh, Kond and Dora is another Dravidian language. You have Kota, you have Kanar. Kanar language is spoken in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh. Then you have the Austro-Asiatic tribal language. Mostly it is spoken in West Bengal, Jharkhand. Kharia language, it is a part of the Austro-Asiatic language spoken in Jharkhand and Orissa. Then you have the Kharia speaking states of southern Bihar, northern Odisha, and eastern Madhya Pradesh. You have the Santali language, which is again Santhal is a sub family of the Austro-Asiatic language family, and it is closely associated with Ho and Mundari languages. It is also spoken in neighboring countries of India like Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan. In India, the language of the Austro-Asiatic language family is spoken in the states of Assam, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Orissa, Tripura. Santhali language is mainly spoken by the Santhal tribal community. Apart from this, you have the Khasi language. As I have told you earlier, it is a part of the Austro-Asiatic language family, and it is part of the Khasi Cumic group of languages. It is connected to the Munda branch of Austro-Asiatic group of languages, and they are found in the states, spoken in the states of Meghalaya. And you will find also quite some speakers in the country of Bangladesh, and Khasi language is very popular, prevalent there. You will find it in terms of certain folk and stories. It is spoken in that kind of a language. And then looking at the tribal culture in India, you will see that you know uh, the tribal culture as such, it was very rich, but what they suffered from was acute poverty and ignorance, and that was the reason why you will find so you know these Christian missionaries who have you know, tried to have some kind of an interaction with these tribal communities. And there you will see that animism and all kinds of worship was a part of their culture. And the festivals in these communities, it was celebrated with lot of grandiousness. But if you try to make a comparison with the present state of the tribes, you will see that since they lack education, literacy, and mostly the practices of witchcraft, the tantric forms of religion, it has evolved a lot in this tribal environment. And most importantly, the tribes, they have always stuck to their identity despite of proselytization, despite being an practitioners of Christianity or Hinduism. You will not find a total transformation in the lifestyle or outlook of the tribes. So if you look at the northern regions, the tribes of Himachal Pradesh, you will see that they have a distinct culture. you know the dance, the music forms, the fairs, the festivals, uh, they live in nomadic kind of a lifestyle. And it is quite visible. The tribes of Himachal Pradesh belong to the famous Indo-Aryan family, and the major tribes include the Kinora tribes, the Lohale tribes, the Gaddi tribes, and the Gujjar tribes. And although the Himachal Pradesh, the tribes, they observe a lot of festivals. Among the Gujars tribe, they have developed some kind of conversation in numerous languages. They can speak Hindi, they can speak Urdu, they have adopted the religion of Islam. And this, the existence of the Gujars, they date back to 6th century AD. But these tribes have been very successful in keeping their identity, and at the same time adapting themselves to the different waves of changes that you will see around. Then apart from that, you have the Kinora tribal community, where you have the Siddle tribes of Himachal Pradesh. Their language is Kinori, and it is considered to be one of the most beautiful dialects. Kinori is a language that was also mentioned in the Mahabharata. And they have some similarities with the Aryans. The people of the Lohole tribes of Madhya Pradesh, they also have they speak this language called Patani. Then the Gadi tribes of Himachal, they live in the districts of Chamba and Kangra. And there you will see that they normally are a community who are a bunch of shepherds, and they are engaged in different kinds of occupation. Then the major tribes of Madhya Pradesh are the Vaina tribe, Gond tribe, Vil tribe, Bharia tribe, Binjwar tribe, Dharwad tribe, and they actually form the major tribes of Madhya Pradesh. And then apart from that, you have the Majwar tribes, the Meena tribes, the Powa tribes. And you have so many festivals and things marked among them. Even in the western region also, when you talk about the Surat, Broch, and Bulsar districts, you will find many rich festivals among the Adivasis of these regions. In the eastern regions also, you among the Rengma and the Sumi and the Sangtam tribes of Nagaland, you will find many distinct traditional songs that are very integral to their culture. Looking at the tribes of Manipur, you will see the Kuki and Chin Mizo group. They have their own dance and tribal songs. And you have the southern region, you have the Goda tribe, the Kunbi tribe, the Dhanga tribes. And they still have been able to maintain their distinctness. And one of those most talked about tribes of Tamil Nadu, the tribes of Nilgiris, as I have already told you, the Todas, the Irulas, the Kurumbas, Bagadas, they still have maintained their distinction till date. So this was just a short description of the major tribes of this country, and with this, I would try to put an end to my lecture. In case you need any clarification or you want to ask something, you can talk to me right now. And I just needed to tell you that in tomorrow's class, yeah, please.
Meaning, ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, in today's session we discussed about the Harappan civilization and Indus Valley civilization, about the
Mm-hmm.
Dravidian tribes, that
Mm-hmm.
the Dravidian tribes have been the present in the Indus Valley and Harappan civilization.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, as per the studies that we have earlier studied, there were
Hmm.
no concrete evidences that the Harappan tribes were the Dravidian. Ma'am, can you please shed some light on this item?
Listen, normally when we talk about this Indus Valley civilization, we normally talk about the Aryans, and we normally do not consider the Aryans of to be tribes. But who did the Aryans contest? Who were the Dasas? It was basically the indigenous people of these areas who were living. And so basically not much studies has been done, but what I am trying to say, it is a part of your material on. It has been proved that these tribes existed, and later down the years they have been pushed down after these invasions by the Aryans have taken place. But as you know, history is such a contested thing. you know some historical scholars, some historians, they have said that we still the idea of this Aryan and Dravidian contest, it could be a myth. People like Romila Thapar say that it could be a myth. So, but it is for sure that these tribes existed during the Harappan and Indus Valley civilization. If you look at the original etymological meaning, also, some of the works by Gure, you will see that how the tribes have actually come down, from these reasons. So definitely some evidence have been found by researchers of their existence in these Harappan and Indus Valley civilization.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am. The same evidence that we are discussing about have been also given in the script, ma'am, the Boston Cordon script. They also said that it has uh, script is the Boston Cordon, that the signs that have been found in Harappan Indus civilization have been actually derived from the Tamilian script, ma'am, Dravidian script.
Yes, that means that there is a link between them. The reason that, when we talk about Indus Valley civilization, most of the scholars, we are focused on Aryans and not on the people who existed, on whom these Aryans had their conquest. But there is definitely a link that mostly these tribes have been pushed down, and they existed during the conquest, when these
Yeah, yeah.
Aryans
Got it,
took
ma'am.
over. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for clarifying.
Thank you. Okay, so maybe we will meet tomorrow with a new blog for the second part of the lecture. Thank you.